Alright, so in this video, we're just going to do a few exercises that you really want to be able to do before you have a quiz on this section. And we're talking about the sections 1, 2, 1, 3, and 1, 4, which is all about lines. And these are just the absolute, the basics of lines, like finding intercepts, finding slopes, and so on. First of all, doing some algebra. If you have an equation like this is actually an example of a linear equation because it can be written as something times x equals a constant. So the way we do this is we want to collect like terms. X plus 2x is 3x. This minus 1 stays here. And 3x minus 9x is minus 6x. And we have plus 17. Now we put the x terms together. We'll add 6x to both sides. And then we'll add 1. We want to get rid of this minus 1, so we'll add 1 to both sides. And when that happens, 3x plus 6x is 9x. Minus 1 plus 1 is 0. Minus 6x plus 6x is 0. And 17 plus 1 is 18. You can divide both sides by 9. And you get x equals 2. Okay. And you can go back and check that it works if you want. Okay. To find the intercepts, basically you want to find the x-intercept, you set y equals 0 and solve for x. And then to find the y-intercept, you set x equals 0 and solve for y. So if you set y equals 0, then this becomes 2x plus 3 times 0 equals 18. So 2x equals 18, and we just saw that we can divide both sides by 2 if we want, and we get 18 divided by 2 is 9. Okay, so the x-intercept would be 9, 0. To find the x-intercept, or to find the y-intercept, we set x equals 0, and that gives us 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 18. So 3y equals 18. Divide both sides by 3, and we get y equals 6. So 0, 6 would be the y-intercept. Okay, so this would be the x-intercept. And this is the y-intercept. Okay, you always want to include both the x and y coordinates. If we do this for part B, set y equals 0, you get 0 equals 2x plus 10. Subtract 2x from both sides. And divide by negative 2. You get x equals negative 5. So negative 5, 0 would be your x-intercept. And if you set x equals 0, you get y equals 2 times 0 plus 10. So y equals 0 plus 10, and that's 10. So we get 0, 10. Okay, and this is your x-intercept, and this is your y-intercept. Okay, for y equals 3, this is actually this is going to be the graph of a horizontal line. Okay, but let's say if we didn't know that, for y equals 0, we set y equals 0. Now we get 0 equals 3, and this of course is not true, so this is wrong. Okay, so that means something's wrong, and what's wrong is there's no x-intercept. Okay. And if you set x equals 0, well, there's no x here, so the equation really remains the same. Just get y equals 3, and that tells us that that's your y-intercept. So it's 0, 3. Okay, and in fact what's going on is the graph is the horizontal line passes through hits the y-axis at 3. Next one, let's look at problem 3. And that has to do with finding the slopes. Find the slope of the line passing through the point -3, 6 and 1, -10. And is this increasing, decreasing, or horizontal or vertical? Remember, the slope is defined as the rise over the run, or the change in x, or the change in y divided by the change in x, which is also y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And it doesn't matter which point you call the first and the second as long as you're consistent. So in this case, y, we call this y, this the second point and this the first point. Y2 is going to be -10 and y1 is 6. x2 is 1 and x2 is 1 and x1 is -3. So this is going to be -16 over 4, which is -4. So that's our slope. And because the slope is negative, you can see and the slope determines the rate of change. So because this is negative, it's decreasing. The graph is decreasing. Okay? And you can actually see it geometrically. -3, 6. Going to be this point, and then 1, -10. That's going to be way, way, way down here, and so the line is going to be very steep, and the slope will be negative. If we repeat problem 3 with these 2 points, 2, 6 and 7, 6, again our slope will be y2 minus y1, so that's 6 minus 6 over x2 minus x1, 7 minus 2. 6 minus 6 is 0, 7 minus 2 is 5, and 0 divided by any non-zero number is just 0. So the slope is 0, and when the slope is 0, that means the graph is horizontal. And in fact, it's going to be the line y equals 6. For part 5, the lines L1 and L2 have slopes M1 and M2 respectively. Are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, in this first case, the slopes are exactly the same, so that means that the lines are parallel, since M1 equals M2. In part B, we see that they're negative reciprocals of each other, so that means they are perpendicular. Since M2 is going to be 1 over M1, right? The reciprocal of 2/7 is 7/2, but we put a minus here. So they're negative reciprocals. In this case, the slopes are opposites of each other. That doesn't tell us anything, so they're neither. Okay. Because they're neither equal nor negative reciprocals of each other. All right, so next problem. If we want to find the slope of the line, y equals -3x plus 2, this is in the form of y equals mx plus b. All right, any linear equation can be put in this form, as you can write y equals something times x plus b, and that something is going to be that m is going to be the slope. So the slope, m is -3, so this is the slope. And the y-intercept, to find the y-intercept, you set x equals 0, and when we do that, we get, x equals 0, you get y equals -3 times 0 plus 4. Okay, so the y-intercept is 0, 4. Okay, which is also, the b is always going to be the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. And if we wanted to graph this, probably the easiest way to do that is to first graph the y-intercept. So that's 0, 4. So there's your y-intercept, and the slope is negative 3. That means you go down, every time you go over 1, you go down 3. So you go over 1, down 3. And there are these 2 points, and there's the unique line that passes through these points. Okay. If we repeat the same thing here, with here we have to do a little work to put it in y equals mx plus b form. We get 3y is equal to, if we add 5x to both sides, we get 5x plus 6. Okay, really, we just took this and added 5x to both sides. And then divide everything by 3. So y is going to be 5/3 x plus 6/3. Or y equals 5/3 x plus 2. Okay, so our slope, now I'll write this down here, our slope is 5/3. Our y-intercept will be 0, 2 in this case. And we can plot this by first plotting 0, 2. And we are going, our rise is 5, our run is 3. So that means if we go over 3, we go over 3 and up 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. We get this point right here. Okay, so there's 2. And that's what this graph will look like. All right, then finally, if we want to determine if these lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, here we can see right away that this slope, this slope is 4, this slope is 4, so they are parallel. Okay, because they're already in y equals mx plus b form. And then we have to do a little work to put these in y equals mx plus b form. 3y will be minus 2x plus 6, so y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. And then over here, 2y is going to be 3x plus 1, so y is 3/2 x plus 1/2. Okay, if we do a little algebra here, the slope here, m is negative 2/3, here m is 3/2. We can see that these are negative reciprocals of each other, so the answer is perpendicular. So they're perpendicular lines.